Deadman mode Armageddon for 2024 is coming to old school RuneScape on July 19th. If you haven't played it before because you have no interest in PvP, there's been a lot of changes in recent renditions that have made it a lot more entry level and friendly for people who are just kind of getting into it, and also a lot less punishing for your deaths. In the past, you would lose experience when you died, and a lot of that has been changed, I think, to get a lot more people interested in the game mode. That being said, just with the nature of having PvP everywhere, it is still going to feel pretty bad when you die. So hopefully these 10 tips are going to help you kind of get into it if you have never started before and have an idea of what you're doing. Or if you had a bad experience in the past, maybe this will sell you and help you kind of get back into it and give it another shot. I know that my first time around, I had no idea what I was doing. I think I died a couple times in the first few hours and I was just over it and quit. So I definitely would have loved to know this stuff my first time around. Number one, have a plan. Before Deadman mode even starts, you're going to want to know what you want to do with this limited time server, whether that's going to kill a boss, skilling, or maybe you just want to go play the economy. You don't need to have all of the details mapped out to a T and every single minute of the whole entire Deadman mode format. Just have a general idea of what you want to do. That way you kind of know what quests you need to do, what requirements, what items you want to buy, and it's also just going to help you adapt on the fly if something changes, if something doesn't go according to plan. Just having put already thought into it is going to help you make any changes and still make progress. I definitely encourage you to specialize. Don't diversify. This isn't an Iron Man mode, server. So if you need something, you can just buy it from other players using Grand Exchange and focus on just a couple of things. Getting ahead of the curve is absolutely key to Deadman mode, just because it is a fresh economy. So if you're the first person to a certain item, you are going to make millions of gold. Spreading yourself too thin, you might always be, a little bit late to the party, at which point you're not really getting the most out of that. Number two, take advantage of the grace period. If you don't know, Deadman mode is split into 5 different combat brackets. This is so that people who are really high level can't come and PK you level 3 when you're just getting out of Lumbridge. Every time you enter a new combat bracket, you'll also be getting 1 hour of PvP protection, and that 1 hour is so vital. Taking advantage of that is going to help you so much. You're going to want to do the most dangerous things, such as questing in dangerous areas. Training prayer at the wilderness altar is a great idea, or getting some training done in multi areas. I know a lot of people will use their hour grace periods, for example, to burst mobs in the catacombs, or to do chinning in the Monkey Madness 2 tunnels. With the boosted experience and drop rates, you can get a lot done in that hour if you're utilizing it properly. Again, with the idea of planning ahead, making sure you know what you're going to want to do in that hour is going to help you so that as soon as you step foot into the next combat bracket, you're taking advantage of that next hour. And what's most important is that you can actually snowball that grace period into the next grace period, especially in the early game. As long as you keep training your combat, or you're doing quests that are going to give you combat experience and raise that combat level, you can get 3 hours of just straight PvP protection when the servers go live, and that can kind of help you escape the early game. Because even at those lower brackets, there's going to be a lot of people looking to PK super early once that hour grace period is up. Of course, that also means just be careful you don't go into a combat bracket too early, because once you do enter the next combat bracket, you basically can't do anything in the old combat bracket. You have to move to the new combat bracket, and that hour grace period starts. So, be careful on that aspect as well. You may want to, for example, hold off on turning quests that give you a massive experience bonus so that you don't, fly past a certain combat bracket. Number 3, know your safe zones. Yes, you can get PK'd almost everywhere, but there are a couple of safe zones where you can't get PK'd, and you might have to change some of your more common strategies to avoid areas where people are going to be sitting there and camping, waiting for you to, pass by. One of the most common areas, and I swear I think this is where most people will die their very first time, is from the Grand Exchange to the Varrock West Bank. This little strip of land always has some guy waiting to rush you and Dragon Claw spec you, and you will die in half a second and you don't even know why because it looks like it's a safe zone. But no, this place is indeed dangerous. Start adapting. You're going to want to go through Varrock Castle to the Grand Exchange because obviously you are going to be using the Grand Exchange quite a bit. The agility shortcut leading out of the Grand Exchange is also a really popular spot. I've seen a lot of people just waiting for some, noob to come by and they'll rush you right outside there. There's a fairy ring there as well as Edgeville, and all of that is dangerous. So, just look out for that and, stay focused until you kind of get out of that zone. If you see somebody just standing there, they're probably waiting for you, okay? Another popular zone is Berthorpe. Although the Warriors Guild is safe, so you can go get your defenders as well as do really good, easy, safe combat training there, Berthorpe is not a safe zone. There's almost always going to be somebody that's sitting there waiting for people to teleport by using a games necklace. So just be careful if you're teleporting over to the Warriors Guild. Don't bring your full max setup if you're not ready for somebody to kill you as, you walk over there. There is a bank inside of the Warriors Guild, but I don't think that there is a deposit box. So if you do want to bring some of those high valuable items, you're probably going to want to take them with you. So again, be careful. Another good one is Lumbridge Basement. This is indeed dangerous. So if you are, usually using the bank here, you might want to get comfortable with using the one upstairs in Lumbridge Castle instead. There's a lot more I could talk about. I could probably go on and on about popular PKing spots. So if you guys know one, put it in the comments below. That way other people can see it and you might save them from dying a horrible death. Number 4 is to plan an exit. Whether you're out doing Slayer monsters or farming a boss, it's always good to just know how you can escape. Usually this is going to be ladders or tunnels, things that are going to help you create a gap so that you can teleport away. One of the most important things about Deadman is you can't just teleport on a whim. You need to escape combat for 5 seconds. This is so that you can't just teleport as soon as you see somebody on your map, basically. And it's a lot harder to chase somebody if, you're going through the tunnels and stuff like that. That can kind of buy you those precious seconds that you need so you can actually go ahead and leave combat and teleport away. That being said, if you're not in combat, you can teleport. So for example, if you're safe spotting a mob, I do believe you can just teleport right away. And this can be a pretty neat trick. For example, I would safe spot blue dragons. If somebody showed up, I'm out, basically. Really easy, pretty safe, and it might help you get away from some people trying to kill you. Agility shortcuts can also be a really sneaky way to get away. Not everybody is going to be spending a lot of time training their agility, so if you do get your agility up, you can use certain shortcuts that they're just not going to have access to. They're going to be sitting there looking like an idiot, and you're out. On the subject of getting away, Number 5 is to always bring food. Pretty much anytime you're out doing anything dangerous, you're gonna want to get in the habit of bringing Ceradomin brews, bring some super restores, and also just bring some high healing hard foods such as manta rays. Blighted supplies do work everywhere, so you can bring those wherever you want and also act as a source of food. And honestly, as long as you're actually bringing supplies and you're not just, having like a full inventory for whatever boss you're doing, you can usually get away as long as you don't panic, eat your food, drink your brews, and most importantly, wear tank gear. Honestly, you could just bring like black d'hide top and bottom and throw that on, and that's going to help you, avoid some freezes and allow you to get away. Just again, know your safe spots and run in that direction. I would also encourage you to have some spare points at the emblem trader. In Deadman mode, you can buy so many supplies at the emblem trader, whether that be brews, restores, potions, and you can easily get some points by turning in archaic emblems, which drop from most monsters, as well as they drop very frequently from the breaches. So just stock up on some emblems and, don't waste all your points. Have some on backup so that, you can always buy some if you need them. You don't lose the points when you die as long as you've turned in your emblems. So this is a nice way of having like a reserve of supplies ready to go. Number 6, use your deposit box. The deposit box allows you to store 10 valuable items, and these will not be lost on death. So although you lose your entire inventory and equipment and the 10 most valuable items in your bank, you can put 10 items in your deposit box instead, which will be saved on death. I like to think of the deposit box as insurance in case you die. It's kind of like an extra life when you're playing like an arcade game, and you don't have to start all over again. You can just take out one of those items, sell it off, and get right back to whatever you were doing. So don't be too greedy and all in. Definitely buy some stuff just to keep in your deposit box as backup. I would definitely recommend items that are going to sell very frequently. So things like a dragon scimitar, are like around 100k. Ancient staffs are really common. Even just putting in something like a rune plate body, which you can high alch for 40k, maybe that's enough to get you enough gear to, go back and hunt some dragons, make some cash that way. I would definitely try to diversify your increments inside of your deposit box. So have a couple items that are 100k, maybe some that are, 500k if you can slowly build up to more expensive items, but just try to use all 10 slots if you can. And the deposit box is also a wonderful place to just hold some of your more valuable items if you do go something risky. So let's say you get lucky and you hit a Vesta's longsword, but you're not really doing a boss that you want to go risk that on. Just throw it in the deposit box and bring your cheap setup. That way, if you die, you're not really risking much, and a lot more of your bank value is stored in that deposit box instead. You can still do low risk activities without, feeling worried about if you die. Speaking of risk, number 7, go ahead and balance your risky and your safe activities. I don't think this gets talked nearly enough, but if you are always engaging in high risk content, Deadman mode can get pretty daunting and exhausting, just like always being on edge, always having to worry about other people dying. I'm sure some of you can probably relate if you've done hours and hours in the wildy. It's a lot. It can get pretty stressful. And I think doing that for, a long period of time when there's, so much on the line, it can cause you to, make a mistake, and it can also cause you to just get tilted if you die. The most important thing to avoid is that scenario where, you lose everything and you're just so done with the game mode and you quit. So I would definitely say find some time to just chill out a bit and train in a safe zone, for example. If you still want to go do some risky stuff, maybe just fight some low risk bosses where you don't really need to bring all that much gear to kill them. You do get a lot of the Deadman mode points for the first 100 times you kill a boss. So, hey, maybe just go kill the mole a couple times. You know what I mean? Just chill out, go have some fun, go do that instead. Or just take an hour or so to buy and sell on the Grand Exchange, which is, of course, a safe zone. That brings me to my next point, number 8. Play the economy. Deadman mode is a fresh economy, which means that being smart in how you trade with other players and use the Grand Exchange is almost more important than what you do outside of it. You're definitely going to want to get all of your trades done in one session, because if you go out and die, you will also lose any ongoing trades. So before you go out and risk anything again, make sure you get your trades done. Don't just have money or items out in the Grand Exchange Vortex, because they will be lost, and that does feel pretty awful. Putting those trades while you sleep and then waking up to it is a great way of having your trades available there and taking advantage of the very fluctuating market. Now, I don't know if this is the case for Deadman mode 2024, but in the previous Deadman mode, sigils were not lost on death, which means that a great way of playing the economy is to actually stock up on sigils. These are the equipable powers of Deadman mode. Think relics in leagues, but you can also trade them. And they kind of function like stocks in Deadman mode, basically. It's like a stock market. You can buy some and invest them, and on top of your deposit box, you can have hundreds of millions in sigils as well, which aren't going to be lost on death, even if they're in your bank. I like to buy sigils that I think are going to either retain their value or continue to go up in value. This is the more rare ones, the more valuable ones, but I'll also just stock up on a lot of the cheap ones. I can just buy 10 of the 10k ones and then sell them off as needed to make some cash, basically. If you have any loose cash lying around, I think it's a great option of buying sigils, because obviously if you do die, that cash is going to be lost. Number 9, go to the breaches. This is my biggest regret of the last Deadman mode. Breaches are so much fun. It is so crazy over there. There are just mobs spawning everywhere. You got bosses here and there, people PKing, barraging in these big clumps and stuff like that. And these bosses just print money, basically. They drop so many alchable items, they drop a ton of supplies, and because you're going to be with people in the same combat bracket as you can get lucky and hit an MVP, get the most damage on one of these bosses. So it can be a great way of making some money as well if you don't have another solid game plan, basically. It's also a nice way of kind of coming back to the game if you do die, because honestly, there's going to be piles of items everywhere. So if you just go and basically be a little vulture, just pick up loot from the ground, you can make so much money and just go sell it off. It's really, really easy. The corrupted weapons that you get from the trinkets of advanced weaponry are also a fantastic budget item for PVM or even PvP. Getting your hand on a corrupted scythe or a corrupted shadow can really allow you to go do PVM without having to do that much risk and gear. Now, the multi-combat breach is pretty chaotic. deck, but in singles, as long as you kind of stay with the general group, you're usually not going to be attacked like that much. I know it seems really scary, but honestly, like I didn't get attacked that much. Just make sure that if you do get an item, you get away, and then also just make sure you're leaving on time. It lasts for about 15 minutes, and as people slowly start to leave and leave and leave, that's when I think the PKers like to kind of come in and hunt the people who are there. So just make sure you're not staying too long, because you might find somebody there ready to get you at the end. One of the new things about Deadman mode 2024 is going to be the like zone breaches, where monsters are going to spawn in a much bigger area, and I think that's going to be a really great way where maybe you and a couple of friends can kind of lock down an area, and PKers are going to have a harder time finding a certain clump of people instead. Just know that enchanted ruby bolts won't work in this Deadman mode, so if you were using that in the last Deadman mode, which allowed you to kind of just get lucky and snipe some MVPs on bosses, it's going to be a little bit harder for you to get the MVP, so good luck. A good trick is to actually go ahead and use Entity Hider, as this can kind of help you make sense of what's going on when there's so many people. And as another option, if you don't want to do breaches, you can go do something that's like fairly risky around the breach time, just because you get like about 30 to 45 minutes of pretty much safety around the world, because there's going to be a lot of people who are gearing up for the breaches, getting ready for the breaches, and then selling their items off after the breaches. All the PKers are over at the breaches. They're not going to be checking like every single spot trying to find you during the breaches time. Finally, and I think this is the most important point on the list, number 10, accept death. You will die. It is inevitable, okay? So my best point of advice is to just enjoy it rather than let it upset you and, get tilted over it. Trust me, it happens to everybody. Even the best PKers will get run up on some time or lose a fight. Like, it happens, okay? It's just a part of the game, and you have to just accept that. Yeah, it sucks to die. Like, trust me, it's never, like, a fun feeling, but, like, you just kind of have to accept that death is kind of like a tax that you play. It's not the end of the game, especially if you've been doing some of the previous ideas and, setting up your deposit box. Generally, if you have, something in mind that you're doing, you're gonna make more money than you lose, as long as you're not like literally risking your entire bank every single time you go out to kill a boss. So, don't get discouraged about it. Don't get upset. It's gonna happen, and it's okay. And honestly, if you're not enjoying it, if you're not having fun, you don't enjoy like the PvP experience or like playing Predator and Prey, don't force yourself to do it. At the end of the day, guys, it's just a game, and if you're like slamming your keyboard or getting tilted over it, like, you should be having fun playing. I really enjoy it. I enjoy kind of being on edge and being stressed out and getting away with all the loot. So hopefully you guys can, get in that mindset as well, and just kind of take the deaths for what they are and get back out there without, beating yourself up over it or being discouraged. I think a lot of the changes to Deadman mode in the last couple of years have been specifically to get more people involved that want to be, a bit more of like the prey side, where your goal is just like go play the game and get away from people. So again, if you've never given Deadman mode a try because you've been discouraged from the PvP aspect, or, you've played in the past and didn't enjoy it because it was so punishing, I think now is the best time to get back into it and give it another shot, and you might find you enjoy it a lot. I know that my first time was really, really sour because it was so rough and I just had no clue what I was doing. So I hope this really helps you guys get started, make some crazy money, and most importantly, have some fun. Thanks guys for watching. We'll have a couple more Deadman mode videos coming out in the weeks leading up, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.